You know, I grew up in church, and I grew up in a Christian church that always talked about Jesus. But it wasn't until I started reading the Bible for myself that I saw a Jesus that I never really heard about in church. One of the first stories that's told about Jesus in the Gospel of John, which is this little biography that this guy John writes, is that he goes to this party, this reception that takes place after a wedding, which in that time was like a 3-day deal. I mean, they were really crazy. And Jesus showed up, and they ran out of wine. And he actually turns water into wine so that the party can keep going. And some of the guests, they actually go up to the father who bought all the cheap wine and said, "Man, you saved the best wine for last," because they never did that. Well, he didn't save the best wine for last. What happened was Jesus actually made great wine out of water. That really surprised me because I thought Jesus would be the sort of guy who would kind of walk into the party and say, "Hey, shut it down, you know, we're not going to do this, turn off the Justin Timberlake music, no dancing, no fun." It was really pretty surprising to me. And then as I kept reading, I just kept seeing little vignettes about Jesus, and my perception about who Jesus was began to change. And it was interesting because I began to like him more. And then I began to really feel a disconnect between some of the people who were talking about Jesus on the television, some of the people who were talking about Jesus on the radio, some of the politicians who use Jesus in their speeches. He just doesn't seem like the Jesus in the Bible. And so some friends of mine and I, we put together a little book called The Open Table. And it's just these vignettes and reflections on these little scenes where Jesus goes and interacts with these people. And I think if you'll read through it, you will find that your perception about Jesus changes too. As we just take from the Bible these little pictures about people who have interacted with Jesus. If you've been curious about Jesus, or if even the word Jesus makes you angry because of all the stuff that's associated with it, will you look into this book, The Open Table? We've actually also got small groups taking place all over America of groups of people who may or may not like Jesus, but they're sitting around a dinner table and they're having conversation about him. And you can be a part of one of these small groups too. Just log on to www.theopentable.com and you can find out more information.